Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I want to support a move by ODM party to make sure that we institutionalize party democracy. Why should we have political parties being funded by taxpayers' money and they're supposed to be anchors of our democracy? Or rather, let me say it this way. Why should we waste these resources of allowing party to present candidates or people to be sponsored by political parties? But after that, these people can just cross over and join the other party and leave the party that sponsored them to parliament, while their work is legislation. And the legislation also is that oversight needs, and that is why when you win, you become minority. When you win, you become majority, and when you don't win, you become minority and technically the opposition. Then people can just cross over, even those who are nominated by the party, cross over to the ruling party, the guise of those developments, but without blinking an eye. I want to support. Raila Odinga has issued a demand that we need to do things right to strengthen our democracy. Dr. William Ruto has said that he's a Democrat and is a man that wants to strengthen the democracy of this country. That is very important. And I want to look at it technically. Now, let me take you back. In 1992, after Raila Odinga won the Kibera he became the Kibera member of parliament. I think that was the larger Langata member of parliament. And then he went to the parliament by Ford, Kenya. And at the time there was a split between Ford Kenya, and of course there was a split between Ford Kenya and Ford Asili. And he wanted then to leave Ford Kenya to go NDP, to go to LDP. Number one, what he did, he resigned as a member of parliament and joined LDP and went back to the people and retained the seat. And by the way, for your information, that is what gave LDP power. You know, I was talking to my old man here, my dad back home here, and he was just telling me, I was just asking him about that because he was here. He was telling me that what gave LDP power, ile party ya Tinga power, what gave it power was that party, they had made that brave decision, and quite a number of people were willing. And they went to the general election 2027 with a very strong party. And by the way, that's why Raila could even become that's how Raila even became number 3. Raila became number 3. So it happens. And I think for these politicians, you work on ideology. You cross over to the other side. You leave the party that sponsored you, and it cannot. So when Raila was meeting the members of parliament in Machakos for Azimio PG, he's saying that they are moving to institutionalize party democracy. He wants powers to allow the party to recall members of parliament, especially even the nominated ones, that cross over to the other side. And I want to appeal to the Democrats in William Ruto, if indeed it is there, that what happened at the time he snatched Jubilee MPs and some of them then crossed to UDA. But they were very keen that even if they wanted to join UDA, they joined very last minute. UDA was never formed early. It was just on paper somewhere, but they never crossed. Technically, they never crossed. But there is a very thin line in terms of at what point do someone cross over? Is someone just belonging to the party by paper, but by actions and policy moves the other side? What exactly is going to be a very strong opposition that William Ruto is asking for if the MPs can just be bought? Or they can just cross over? And you must know that there is personal fortunes to some of these decisions. So I have my own understanding, and I want to look at it technically, why this has happened, and there is a bit of that scare on William Ruto's side, on Kenya Kwanza's side, because Ruto seems to have really been taking that, because himself, William Ruto is not a young politician. He's been in this country and he's been in this politics for quite some time. And whatever happened at Jubilee can even happen at UDA. Yes, it can happen at UDA. Even if not at this stage, even if they get their way in the second term, it can still happen. So, pushing supermajority is, of course, we are seeing by this illicit transfer of members of parliament from that side to this side. So they're getting supermajority, but they can still, at one point, should we allow people just to cross over? I want to look at it keenly, and before we look at the reasons why this needs to be then institutionalized, I want to humbly ask you that if you're watching this video and you have not yet subscribed, kindly subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our channel. Thank you for those who are sharing our videos. Sometimes I normally check Facebook, sharing our videos. Asanteni sana. And I was in Siaya. I was in somewhere known as Awelo. I attended a sports day there for, I think, primary school sports day. I'm glad that I got some teachers there who are members of this channel. And I'm just so glad we'll one day get time and pay a visit. Yeah, so salimiane, so that we also make, there is also humans. We are also human beings. Now, why? Why this is important? And I insist, this is very important. There is no recall, or rather the recall clause for members of parliament by the public is not very easy to exploit. It's not very easy to pursue. But then, the public can recall the MC or the MP. They can recall, can sign their signatures and try to recall the MP or MC if it doesn't work for them. But that route is not very elaborate. It's not very simple. It's not very easy. That route is not there. I'm saying this because, so if we allow people just to cross, then probably they just focus on political alignments. So when you allow political alignments, for example, someone like Jalan'go. Jalan'go is crossing over to UDA, and I support those who say it was a political suicide. But do you know one thing that is going on is some of them have been told that take the risk, you just cross over and work with us. If you don't get the ODM ticket, we'll give you the UDA. And if in where you will be vying UDA will be high risk, then you will also stand in the chance of getting a job in case if you don't make it. Then you ask yourself, Ruto is now pleasing people by making those appointments because he wants the right re-election. In 2032, Ruto will not be interested in that re-election. Will you get that job that maybe you've been promised? It's not guaranteed. But then, that is not even for me, that's not a problem. So, when you cross over to the other side, you had promised people. Your only focus then is selfishly what you can get, a personal fortune. And you're just looking at, you cross over and realize, because I do not stand the chance of being re-elected, it's not a must even I deliver. Someone does not deliver, he crosses over, takes some few millions in his pocket, crosses over the other side, loses the ground with the voters. After losing the ground with the voter, he cannot deliver to those people. The moment he can't deliver, who is losing? So you find out that mwenye amepoteza is the voter. Because we allowed this person to make... Now, because this person must remain, if you're elected, you must remain within that party. You will actually maintain contact with the electorates. I'm sorry to say this. There are some places, and I can tell you, and there are some places in Nyanza that because you've crossed over to UDA, you're not even peaceful. The other day I saw a tweet by an UDA blogger. Let me just mention his name, Gordon. He was saying that I cannot walk in Kisumu peacefully. I cannot do my business peacefully. I have lost a lot of things on supporting William Ruto while I have not got any support from William Ruto. Now, you know what that means is you've lost touch with the voters. Now, when you lose touch with the voters, you know very well that they cannot vote you back, so you don't work for them. And that's very sad. So that's number one, me I insist. If you cross over, I support the Raila Odinga team. If you cross over, just go and seek fresh mandate. Let them elect you on that new party you want, so that you will work for them. If you don't work for them, they will be in a position to ask you questions. That's number one. Number two, I think when leaders are elected in this country, people just look for what is in it for us. So we should cure what is in it for us by making sure people don't cross over. People cross over for what is in it for me. I'm crossing over, yes. You want to support me, yes. So what is in it for me? Where people are just allowing personal fortunes. Let's make them be accountable. And there is a bit of accountability. For example, let me just take a good example. A senator or a governor. Imagine if a governor can cross over. That governor crosses over and goes to the national government and will cross over to the majority. And the majority controls all the investigation agencies. So even if things are not going right, they cannot be investigated because they're sitting politically right with the administration. So that's another reason why I think we should allow these people to work. And lastly, we are killing opposition. The minority side, because they have nothing to lose, they should actually be proud by putting government on top. But when we don't allow them, we allow them to make all the political blunders and praise them, then we are simply the person who is losing, is Wanjiku down here. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of it. This is my last video here. Yes, so the next video we're going to produce from my studio back in Nairobi. And thank you very much. Let's meet in the next.